Hello, everybody. My name is Regan Archibald, and the reason I do these videos and the reason we have this show is because a lot of people are unhealthy, and I don't want you to be one of them. I'm the founder of East West Health, which is an age reversal company that allows you to become unreasonably healthy in the shortest amount of time without sacrificing the most enjoyable parts of life. Your time is your most valuable resource that you have, and so I want to give you easy ways to stay healthy so that you make your next decade your best decade. And by the way, if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review and we will love you forever. And please enjoy the show. Hey everybody, it's Regan here, and today we're going to be talking about 10 unique ways and unique differentiators that are my favorite for achieving unreasonable health at any age. And these are the top 10 things that I enjoy. This was a kind of a challenge that my mentor Dan Sullivan gave me. He said, hey, what are your top 10 favorite things when it comes to health? And so I put a lot of time into this and thinking about it. And so I hope you enjoy it. And by the way, these are my top 10. I don't know what yours are, but I'd love to hear what yours are. So as I'm going through mine, I'd really love it if you went through yours and then shared it with us. As I go through these, this is a strategic coach tool called 10 Unique Differentiators. And my number one, the uniqueness, one thing that I love doing every day are vagal tone accelerators. And so these vagal tone accelerators, I call them the 3 Gs, and they are gag, gasp, and grip. And the fun thing about these is they are something that you can do at any time, but it's a way that you can improve your parasympathetic nervous system, because so many of us, and myself included, if I don't do these vagal tone activators when stress hits me, I react to it. And one of the secrets to having a very enjoyable life free from stress is to learn how to not react to the stress triggers. And so gagging is something that you will do, and I do it every night when I brush my teeth. I'll go into the back of my tongue and then gag, and then I'll do it in the morning when I brush my teeth. And so you want to gag 2 times a day, and that's a great way you can increase vagal tone. The other gasp part is when you gasp because you're in cold. And so you've heard me talk about cold showers and taking ice baths. And one of my favorite challenges that I gave myself between the ages of 41 and 42 was every day I did an ice bath. And it was an incredible journey. And actually, many of the days I did it twice, and I still get a cold exposure. I've taken cold showers religiously for almost a decade, but there's something about that gasping that it resets your heart rate variability. So if you didn't have a good sleep, but you still want to go and exercise, well, get in the cold, get some cold. And then the grip is, I use the grip as an analogy because you can actually reset your vagal tone by using hand grip. And I'm a big believer in dead hangs and keeping my hands as strong as possible. But the grip is about squeezing your Kegels, and the Kegels are the perineum muscles. So if you squeeze as if you're trying to pinch off your urine supply, and you're squeezing all the muscles around your rectum, that's a Kegel. And if you do that 10 times a day, you'll have really good vagal tone. So try it right now. I'm doing it right now. And there it is. But this is one of the absolute best ways that I've learned to remain calm, and because it helps remind me that stress is always internal. It's never from external conditions. And so I use vagal tone in my breathing because I'm always incorporating those two to mitigate any kind of stress. And it's changed the way that I think and I feel and perform. And fortunately, I read a book when I was 13. It was by Dan Millman. And it's an incredible read called The Inner Athlete. but he showed me ways of visualizing and breathing, and I've taken it into my day-to-day life. So vagal tone activators. Number two is sensory priming. And so if you think about it, if you want to have an amazing day, well, you probably want your ears and your eyes and your taste and all your senses fully activated. And so one of the ways that I do that is I use, in my peptide blend, I do maybe 9 or 10 peptides a day, but I'll do a nasal spray called Synapsin. And Synapsin's got the ginsengenoids, and it's I'll use Synapsin RG3, and it's got methylcobalamin, and then it's got nicotinamide riboside. So it helps activate the ATP pathways. When you include it with alpha GPC, that's where you're going to get this great intense ability to focus. And so I break my days up into focus days, buffer days, and free days. And those focus days, the alpha GPC Synapsin blend is amazing. Helps with hearing, helps with concentration. I'll use another nootropic called oxiracetam for hearing as well, because I'm an auditory learner. Primarily, and I'm maybe 10% more auditory than visual. But both of those, I love it. I think we all need multiple ways of learning. There's kinesthetic as well. But when I want more of the kinesthetic, I use Selenk because it helps activate creativity. And so one of my favorite things to do to prime my senses is I'll use these eye drops, and it's called Sananga. And these eye drops were given to me by my friend, Dr. John Lawrence. And there's a little bit of oxytocin in those, and the Sananga blend. And it's a little bit of peppermint oil, so it does burn, but your eyes just feel so full of clarity. So it helps capture better vision for my future. And then on the mouth, to freshen the taste, I'll use a little bit of essential oils with some MCT and oxytocin in it, but the essential oils of oregano, cinnamon, and clove, and just a few drops of those, and you swish it around and then swallow it, and it kills microbes, and it also leaves you with fresh breath. But it's another way of priming the senses, and great antimicrobial. So these are my first two. My number three is I love walking backwards for forward progress. And, in Asia, they don't have a lot of the osteoarthritic knees. They don't get joint replacements nearly as much as we do. And I do a lot of Qigong movements, but then I have this intentional practice where it's called rucking. And so I'll put on a weighted vest, or I'll grab a kettlebell, and then I'll walk up and down the stairs backwards for about 5 minutes every night. And I'll do that while, I'll have meat on the Traeger. So if we're doing our food prep, it gives me a chance to kind of, get active. And, it's also a chance for my family to tease me. But as I'm doing that, as I'm going up and down the stairs backwards, it also wakes up the hippocampus. And so it's a way for me to reset and finish, my workday, and just go into having some fun dinner conversations with my family, which are my favorite time of the day. And the best thing about it is it brings blood into the knees. And I am committed to being incredibly active up until the day I die. And I've got a very robust longevity goal. And in order to do that, I want to have my knees. I don't want to have prosthetic knees or hips or anything else. And so walking in reverse, I get regenerative medicine 2-3 times a year into my joints and intravenously. But walking backwards, if you follow the knees over toes guy, he's got some brilliant ideas on creating blood flow to the knees. And he got this one from the Asians because in Eastern cultures, they walk backwards, and they're moving lateral side to side. So I'll walk up the stairs backwards, and then I'll go sideways. And also in Chi Running, Danny Dreyer, who I hosted a workshop out here for him and his community. And one of the things we did was learn how to run up steep hills sideways to protect the knees and to make them even healthier. And so That's number 3. Number 4 is my 30-30 routine. And I've talked about this a lot. 30-30 is where, I read the study where they looked at, over 186,000 participants over the course of 2 decades. And they found that the people who exercise 300 minutes of moderate exercise and 600 minutes of mild exercise lived 27 to 30% longer than people who didn't. And one of my year-long challenges, similar to I had the ice bath challenge, I did a full year of doing 2 workouts a day. And that was, in part thanks to, COVID and the great lockdown. It gave me more free time. And so I said, I'm just going to work out twice a day and let's see what happens. And I loved it. And so I haven't stopped. And so the way that it works is, you wake up in the morning and, take care of business. I'll do my peptides, grab my water, and then I'll go work out for about 30 minutes. And I love that. I do different types of movements every single day, but they're all primal movement based. And I'm getting my heart rate up to 140, 150. And so I'm pushing myself at about 80% for about half of that time. So, and then that's done, and I go to work and whatever I'm doing that day. And then if it's not a weekend where I'm outside all day, then I'll come back. And in the evening, that's when my wife and I go for a walk. We'll take the dogs, we'll eat dinner. And I love doing that where I can be outside as the sun's setting, because it resets the melopsin receptors and I sleep better. And also the spectrum of the sun as it's rising and as it's setting is really healing to the body. So I find that it just relaxes my nervous system. And I love the quietness that it makes in my brain. That the quietness is something that I really enjoy. And so that's the 30-30 process. I like to challenge my coordination, improve my strength, all those things. And the next one is 25 enjoyable miles per week. Now, I am doing this for 52 weeks straight. This is my year-long challenge this year. And so actually, I got an Apple Watch to track it. My wife actually got this for me and made it so much easier. But I like this because it doesn't count if I'm not enjoying the miles or if I'm, distracted. I think intentionality is so important. And so when I have these 25 enjoyable miles, if I'm on my mountain bike, I'm reminding myself how much I absolutely love mountain biking, especially when I go downhill. That's really lights me up. When I'm skiing or snowboarding, I'm remembering how much I love the activity of feeling the snow. And especially this year, the snow has been incredible. And even in the summer, we had rain 3 out of 3, maybe 4 days out of the week, which is incredible here in Utah. And so I had one of the best mountain biking season, actually the best mountain biking season I've ever had. And now I'm having the best ski and snowboard season I've ever had. And it's because I've got this intentionality of having 25 enjoyable miles per week. And so if I'm not enjoying it, and if I lose my intention of how much I appreciate the way that my body moves, then that mile doesn't count. But if you get 25 enjoyable miles, it's pretty easy. It's 3.5 miles a day or 8,000 intentional steps. And this is where I can go hike with my wife, kids, friends, even take the dogs out. And this is a habit that I'm not going to stop as well. I try to choose the habits that I do for a year, and then I just make them part of my lifestyle, and I love it. Number 6 is peptide pathways. Now, 20 plus years, I've been looking for therapies that had really robust science behind them, but also gave me an advantage. And so even as a kid, I used to go to the little stores, the nutrition stores in Idaho, and I'd grab books and I would buy those books on nutrition. And, one basketball game, I gave the entire team 8 grams of vitamin C, and they all ended up with diarrhea. We couldn't stay on the court long enough, and because I thought, this will help our endurance. I was looking for something. I took ginkgo biloba in high school because I had a goal, no homework. I just wanted to get it all done. So I read about, mental sharpness that would bring. And so, my entire life, I don't really know why. I think I've just been very fascinated with the opportunities that humans have if we really tap into our potential.
Real quick, I hope you're enjoying the show, but if you're somebody who wants to take your health to the next level, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you realize that you are your only impediment to growth. Maybe you have kids that you're chasing around or grandkids. Maybe your knees are starting to ache. You're starting to notice that aging is catching up. Well, schedule an appointment with one of our health ascension specialists so that we can get the right labs ran for you. And then my team and I can review those labs, meet with you, and get you a personalized peptide protocol put together. And that will help you recover your health, feel, look, and perform your best no matter what age you are. All you need to do is text or call us at 801-582-2011. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I can't wait to talk to you soon.
Our physical potential, but more importantly, our mental potential. And I've always looked at our biology as something that can be improved upon. And, I know this, some of you may say, the biology can't be, but actually I've seen it and I've experienced it myself. And so, but when I came upon peptides, it's been almost a decade ago, I noticed how quickly my brain tuned in to focus on the most important things and being able to have intention and hold attention. So better communication patterns, more excitement for life. And not only that, but then as I got deeper into peptides, there's peptides that help eradicate any desire that I had for sweets and sugar, because I loved sugar. And I also have peptides that help build muscle and recovery. And that's, I love my thymosin beta 4. I love my tesamorelin and ipamorelin. I love my BPC 157. And then another peptide that I just absolutely can't imagine life without is ARA 290. And ARA 290 increases your red blood cells. It helps with endurance, oxygenation. And every year I time myself. For those of you who know the mountains here, we have one of the most gorgeous mountain biking trails. It's called the Crest Trail. And you ride right on top of the Wasatch Crest Mountains. So you're above all the ski resorts. You can see down Big Cottonwood Canyon. You can see over into Little Cottonwood Canyon on the Salt Lake side, which is to the west. And then to the east, you can see down Deer Valley. You go through Park City into the canyons area of Park City Mountain Resort. And that's where the trail, eventually you can break off into Mill Creek, or you can break off into the canyons at Park City. Roughly a 25-mile ride, but you're climbing Puke Hill to get to the trail. And so I time myself on that. And with ARA 290 and peptides, every year I get better and better, faster and faster. And there's more and more peptides coming out. And I just look at these peptides as being safer than supplements. They're one of my favorite things to use because of the practicality of them. We're not swallowing them hoping they make it to where they need to go, but most of these peptides are injections. The ones that you do swallow are actually made by the gastric secretions in your gut, so they're getting to the place they need to be anyways. So peptide pathways, that's one of my top 10 health tips. Number 7 is a muscled up future. And so when I think about, the organ system that is going to bring me more enjoyment and more confidence than almost any other organ, maybe my brain, my heart, obviously, but it's my muscles. And, muscle mass makes up for a man about 40% of your overall body weight. And what it does is it allows me to move, I can squat, hinge, twist, push, pull, all these kind of primal movements. But I've been doing this thing called a Goscue, and it's freeing up my tech neck because, I'm getting it from being on my computer, my lovely phone, as, maybe some of you have experienced. And so Egoscue is a way that I've been opening up my spine, and some of them are kind of strange movements, but you can try it. You can, bring your arms straight overhead and push as hard as you can up, or, you get your back straight, and then you're just bringing your elbows in, bringing it out, bringing it in, bringing it out. But focusing on keeping my muscles, pliable, relaxed, making sure I'm drinking half my body weight in ounces, staying hydrated is critical for muscle health. But then the other thing is I've always enjoyed lifting weights, and I lifted a lot of hay bales as a kid. And so, I had to be a little stronger than my friends did, just based on the work that we're doing on the ranch. And so I'm no gym beast. It's not like I'm in competitions, but I was naturally strong as a kid. Probably not naturally. I worked really hard for it. And I've maintained that because of the confidence that I get from working my muscles out. And if you've never lifted weights, we have an 80-year-old patient who we just started getting into weights. There's also a really kind of famous dentist now named Charles Euster. He's a retired dentist, and he took up bodybuilding at the age of 87. Won competitions, and then he took up sprinting and won, world records there. By the way, top secret, when you're in your 80s and 90s, especially in your hundreds, there's not a lot of competition. And so there's some world records to be had. So I'm hoping I can get there with just a full array of fitness, the same that I have now. And this is where that Fitness 50 at age 100 tool is a great model for you to use to see where you are. Are you in the fit, fitter, or fittest category? Because all of those movements are ways of diagnosing how healthy your muscles are, because your muscles help with balance, they help with coordination, they help with agility, they help with power, with speed, and with strength. And so they're not just cosmetic. And by the way, they do look pretty darn good when you get nice, healthy muscles. Okay, so number 8 is I love my protein, and I have an evening crush on carbohydrates. So I love potatoes. I love sourdough bread, especially my wife's Kamut sourdough bread. I love plantains, especially plantain pancakes. Holy smokes, they're so good. And if I eat them in the evening and I postpone my carbohydrates till the evening, I sleep great. I don't have the midday kind of hunger, or, I don't need to snack when I just eat, meat, eggs for breakfast. Same thing with some vegetables, meat, eggs for lunch, same thing with some vegetables, whatever. I'm not picky at all. I just use those meals for energy. And then in the evening time, I've got meat, vegetables, and then some resistant starch. And it's so good for those of you who've had thyroid issues like I've had. Your carbohydrates are such a critical piece of your overall health. And so I get 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight minimum. Most days I'm getting closer to 200 grams, and I weigh around 160. So I'm getting over that. And, so if you think about an easy way of calculating this, if you're like, well, how do I know the grams? Well, just look at your meat, and it has a weight on it, and you can buy a food scale on Amazon. I think I got mine for like $10 or something. And, but essentially 2 pounds of meat is what I go for almost every day. And growing up on a ranch, that it became it's easier for me to see the value and the nutritional content of beef, for example, or bison or lamb, which is, very healthy, nutritious meat. But in meat, for muscle to be made, there's a lot of detoxification that goes on, and there's a lot of processing of those toxins in the plants that those animals are eating. And sometimes meat's gotten a bad rap, and people say, oh, you can't digest it. And it's all, all of that is absolutely not true. And yes, you do need some good enzymes. And as we age, we lose enzyme content and production. So add enzymes when you're eating the meat. But actually it's one of the cleanest foods you can eat and put into your body. From the research I've done, that's something that I've learned. And I was vegan for a couple of years. I was on that train of, I think it's like forks over knives or whatever the latest, propaganda is against meat. But I think it's something that makes me feel very alive, more connected, certainly more grounded. If you look at the amount of processed foods that most of my vegan and vegetarian patients eat, it's astronomical. And so I find meat becomes the most efficient way of getting really clean energy sources into my body. And it's a great way of resetting the digestive system if you've got any autoimmunity. So love your protein, crush on the carbohydrates, get really good fats in as well. Number 9 is probably another controversial one, but this is removing rituals. Every time I open Medium, I love reading articles in Medium. And then I love, now that I have my AI, my chat, GPT-3, I love asking it for research articles on certain topics, and then I can see how accurate it is. And so far it's not super accurate, but I've found some really good research that way. But every time I turn around, someone is talking about this new ritual, and I've fallen guilty of being a slave to my rituals. And so I start to think of rituals as, what would happen if I didn't do this? So what would happen if I woke up in the morning and I didn't do my meditation? What would happen to my day? And actually, I find for the most part, if I'm moving my body, I can incorporate different activities that are productive and useful, and more productive and useful than having, sitting still and meditating in my opinion, is what, one of my Zen teachers shared with me. He says, it's focusing on one thing at a time. And so, I think focusing on one thing at a time, it's easier said than done. And that's what meditation is. And so you can, either fight it and have all these rituals built around it, or you can learn how your brain works best. And I find I can get in a very meditative state when I'm lifting weights or moving my body or on my mountain bike, in a deep conversation. I love that. And so I am a big fan of having a process and having rituals, but I'm a bigger fan of saying, and this comes from the Greg McKeown book, Essentialism, and also The Slight Edge. It's like, what isn't necessary? And so, I like to keep things simple. Wake up, have an intention for my day, be excited about the cool dreams that I had the night before, and excited about who I get to connect with and throughout the day. Injecting my peptides, focusing on how they're going to optimize different pathways in my body. And then most days I forego the journaling or meditation. I just do what's practical now. So that's something that I found is really freeing for me, is not needing to do anything to show up as the best version of myself. To just, okay, so I wake up first thing in the morning and I can't do anything, but I have to go step on stage and speak to 1,000 people. I want to be ready. I don't want to have any ritual that would get in the way of me performing at my best. And so, yes, that does require lots of micro rituals along the way and habits. But I've replaced rituals with healthy habits. And so it makes life so much easier. And then it's not dogmatic. And so the final one, this one I have loved, and once again, I got to thank my wife for it. This is what I call Pilates purgatory. And so my wife, super fit. I wish I had the six pack that she has, but every time I get on the reformer with her, I recognize all these little muscles that I studied in anatomy, and I saw them on the cadaver, but I didn't know I had them. And you can feel those little tiny muscles being activated and engaged. And when you get off the reformer, your body literally, I feel taller, I feel more balanced, I feel more calm. Pilates is meditation in and of itself, because you're moving very slowly. And Pilates activates both type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers. And that does create some soreness. A lot of people, they come into Pilates and, my wife will kind of chuckle because she's like, yeah, we get these high profile athletes who, come in all cocky and they jump on a reformer and they get beat up pretty good. And I think you ladies, because it's usually me and it's a room full of women. I rarely see you dudes on the reformer, so I'd love to see you in class. Luckily we have 2 reformers here at my house. So next time you guys are here, come over and I'll put you on it and see if my wife will take you through a session. But it's a workout unlike any other, because you're going through the full range of motion, but then you're burning out a muscle. So it's the same way if you pulse, when you're squatting next time, if you do some pulses, you're going to feel a massive burn. But I love the reformer because of the ability it has to lengthen the muscle and strengthen the muscle. And so those are my top 10. I'll go through them real quick. The vagal tone activators, that's the 3 Gs, the gagging, the gasping, and the grip. The sensory priming, think your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your touch, smell, everything every day needs to be activated, ideally, in the morning and then, sometime in the afternoon. Walking backwards for forward progress, walk up the stairs backwards. If you don't want to grab a weighted vest or weights, just do it with your body weight. And it's very enjoyable. Keep your knees healthy for the rest of your life and all your joints. Number 4 is the 30-30 exercise, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. Working out twice a day is better for you than just one 60-minute session. Number 5 is my 25 enjoyable miles per week. Those are fun, enjoyable. Number 6, my top 10 health tips and processes is activating peptide pathways every day. I'm activating peptide pathways. That's a lifetime commitment for me. Number 7 is a muscled up future. So doing something to focus on my largest organ in my body and my muscles. And this is something that I'll continue doing for the rest of my life. It's the best way that you can avoid the death by neglect or the recycling factor that the universe wants to take us through. Number 8 is I love my protein and I have an evening crush on my carbohydrates. So yes, I admit I do love potatoes, sourdough bread, plantains, but I also love to get about 200 grams of protein a day. So a couple pounds of meat or eggs. And number 9 is removing rituals. Get rid of the things that just don't make sense and that you don't really need to do to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes less is more. And this is one of those. And then number 10 is put yourself through Pilates purgatory. I do this at least once a week, and it has made an amazing difference in everything. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, I've got a favor to ask. Send that to somebody who you think could maybe get some creative ideas, maybe someone who's feeling frustrated because their health's not where they want it. Maybe this will give them a little bit of inspiration. And if you enjoyed this, let me know. I do read the comments, so appreciate everyone's participation and comments, and I will see you on the next show. And oh, by the way, we'll include this document as a download so you can read through it, and hopefully it gives you some ideas. All right. Love you guys. Bye-bye.